A daughter crosses the street in Brentwood to check on her parents. The security buzzer goes unanswered. She walks into the master bedroom and discovers a nightmare. Rob Reiner, 78. Michele Reiner, 70. Both dead from multiple sharp force injuries. Attack with a knife. Death certificates would later confirm they died within minutes of the attack. 6 hours later, police arrested their 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner. The world didn't see this coming, but the warning signs were there, hidden in a movie theater, in podcast interviews, in a father and son trying desperately to heal by telling their story. Everyone knew Rob Reiner, the legend, the kid from the Bronx who became meathead on All in the Family, then walked away from acting at the height of his fame to direct Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, A Few Good Men, Misery. 4 Academy Award nominations, films that defined childhoods, that people quoted for decades, the director who understood how to make you laugh and cry in the same scene. Michele Reiner, his wife of 36 years. They met on the set of When Harry Met Sally in 1988. She was the photographer. They married months later. She actually convinced Rob to change the ending of that film, to let Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan's characters end up together, because she believed in happy endings. Together they became activists, fought for marriage equality, helped overturn Proposition 8 in California, championed early childhood development, Hollywood's power couple who actually used that power for good. 3 children, Jake, the oldest, Romy, the youngest, a filmmaker, and Nick, the middle child, born September 14, 1993. That's the polished surface. The image on red carpets and in press releases. Inside their Brentwood home, a different story unfolded. One that started when Nick was barely a teenager, 14 years old. That's when Nick Reiner first entered rehab, 14. Most kids that age worry about homework and fitting in. Nick was fighting an addiction that would consume the next 18 years. By age 22, he'd been through 18 different facilities. 18. He'd been homeless multiple times, living on Los Angeles streets while his father directed movies that grossed hundreds of millions. In 2015, the Reiner family made a decision that would define their story. Instead of hiding Nick's struggle, they confronted it publicly. Nick co-wrote a screenplay with Matt Elisifan, someone he met in rehab. The script was raw, pulled directly from Nick's life. A privileged kid, son of a celebrity father running for governor, who destroys everything in pursuit of his next high. They called it Being Charlie, and Rob Reiner agreed to direct. Think about that. A father directing a film about failing to save his own son. Rob called it the most personal film he'd ever made. Nick said it was part of his recovery. In one pivotal scene, the father tells his son he'd rather have him alive and hating him than dead on the streets. Nick wrote that scene. During filming, he added something else. He told Rob the son should hug his father at the end. Rob later said that moment meant everything. It felt like Nick was accepting him back. The movie premiered at Toronto Film Festival in September 2015. Critics weren't kind, 24% on Rotten Tomatoes. But viewers saw something different. A father desperate to understand his son. A son desperate to be understood. The Reiner family laying their pain bare. For years, it seemed to work. Police had visited the Reiner home many times over the decade following Being Charlie for incidents involving Nick. The family never gave up on him. In September 2025, just 3 months before his death, Rob gave an interview to Fresh Air on NPR promoting his latest film. The interviewer asked about Nick. Rob's voice filled with pride, said Nick hadn't used drugs in over 6 years, said his son was in a really good place. He sounded like a father who'd finally made it to the other side of a nightmare. A cinematographer who worked on Being Charlie, Barry Markowitz, saw the family just 10 days before the murders. He stayed with them whenever he was in LA. He said Nick looked like a GQ model, that he was on the upswing, that his soul was pure and gentle. Nobody saw what was coming. Nick was 32 years old, still living in a guest house behind his parents' main residence. The Reiners owned 2 properties across the street from each other in Brentwood. Rob and Michele in one house, Romy, her roommate, and children in the other. Nick in the guest house. A family trying to stay close while giving each other space. Saturday night, December 13th, 2025. The Reiners attended a holiday party at Conan O'Brien's Los Angeles home. Rob, Michele, and Nick all went together. It was the first night of Hanukkah, a time of celebration and light, but multiple witnesses reported seeing Nick and Rob argue at the party. What they argued about hasn't been publicly disclosed. The family left together that night. 24 hours later, both parents would be dead. Sunday afternoon, Romy received a call from her parents' massage therapist. Rob and Michele had missed their appointment. That wasn't like them. Romy walked across the street to check. The security buzzer at the front gate went unanswered. She let herself in, went upstairs to the master bedroom. 3:45 p.m. She found her father. The scene was horrific. She ran from the house immediately. Her roommate, who'd come with her, called 911 at 3:38 p.m. Los Angeles Fire Department paramedics arrived first. That's when they discovered Michelle's body as well. Romy hadn't known her mother was in the house. Can you imagine that moment? Finding one parent dead, fleeing in horror, then learning your other parent was there too? The psychological impact of that discovery is something no one should experience. December the 16th, Nick was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He faces life without parole or the death penalty. His arraignment is set for January 7, 2026. He's being held without bail at Twin Towers Correctional Facility. Hollywood's response was immediate. This wasn't just any director. Billy Crystal, Albert Brooks, Martin Short, Larry David released a joint statement praising Rob's range and brilliance. Sally Struthers called it beyond devastating. The Stand By Me cast, Jerry Seinfeld, late-night hosts, massive stars all paid tribute. Bill Clinton said he and Hillary were heartbroken. LA Mayor Karen Bass called it a devastating loss. But President Trump posted something that shocked even his allies. He suggested Rob died from Trump derangement syndrome. Rob had been a vocal Trump critic. Republicans pushed back hard. Thomas Massey called it inappropriate and disrespectful. Marjorie Taylor Greene said it was a family tragedy, not politics. Don Bacon called it classless. Even Trump's supporters couldn't stomach politicizing a double homicide. Jake and Romy released a statement December 17th. Words cannot describe the unimaginable pain we are experiencing. They weren't just our parents, they were our best friends. Think about that. They lost their parents to violence, and their brother is accused. There's no playbook for that kind of grief. This story raises brutal questions. What happens when love isn't enough? Rob Reiner did everything experts told him. Tough love, open arms. He made a movie with his son, for God's sake. They worked through trauma together on camera, turned pain into art, tried to find redemption through storytelling. Nick, by September accounts, was 6 years sober, looking healthy, on the upswing, until Saturday night, until that argument, until Sunday afternoon. D.A. Hochman said Nick's mental health will likely be central to the case. Addiction, mental illness, family trauma. These aren't simple issues with simple solutions. But here's what we know for certain. 2 people who spent their lives making the world better are gone. A daughter discovered their bodies. A son sits in jail charged with their murders. And a family that loved each other desperately couldn't prevent this ending. Being Charlie is on YouTube. After the murders, the comment section became a debate about addiction, parenting, the limits of love. Some sympathize with the father, others the son, most with both. Because this isn't about villains and heroes. This is about human fragility. About how some battles can't be won, no matter how hard you fight. The legal process will unfold over months, maybe years. Evidence presented, defense arguments made, a jury deciding. But no verdict brings Rob and Michele back. No sentence undoes December 14th. No explanation makes this make sense. Rob Reiner once made a film about boys walking along train tracks looking for a dead body. The movie was really about that moment when childhood innocence collides with mortality. The narrator reflects, "I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. The man who made that film understood loss, understood how life breaks your heart, and now his own story became a tragedy impossible to comprehend." Hollywood will remember Rob for his films, Michele for her activism. Their legacy is secure, but their story ends in a Brentwood bedroom, with their youngest child discovering the scene, their middle child in handcuffs, and the rest of us trying to understand how a family that faced their demons so openly still couldn't escape them. If you're struggling with addiction or mental health, reach out. SAMHSA National Helpline, free, confidential, 24/7. The Reiner family's tragedy reminds us these battles are real. Addiction doesn't discriminate based on wealth or fame. Sometimes, despite everyone's best efforts, the disease wins. Rest in peace, Rob and Michele Reiner. For Jake and Romy, who lost everything in one afternoon, there are no words, only time, hope, and the memory of parents who loved fiercely until the end. If this story moved you, reminded you that behind every headline are real people with real pain, subscribe to this channel. We tell the stories that matter, the ones that hurt to hear but need to be told. Understanding isn't the same as forgetting, and sometimes the most important stories refuse to give us easy answers. January 7th. The world will be watching. But for now, all we can do is sit with the weight of this tragedy. And remember that even Hollywood's happiest endings happen on screen. Real life is messier, darker, and far less forgiving.